Talk Business with Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry, BCCI. Welcome as we hear the perspectives of various subject matter experts and stay up to date on the challenges and solutions around emerging and current trends in business, policies, trade, and more.
Good day and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Business with the Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry. My name is Tahir Bulbulia and I am your host for this program. On Tuesday, February 4th, 2025, the Barbados Chamber of Commerce hosted its third annual Green and Renewable Energy Expo at the Lloyd Erskine Sandiford Centre. It brought together industry leaders, policymakers, innovators, and stakeholders to discuss, strategize, and propel the island's renewable energy ambitions forward. On today's episode of Let's Talk Business, we will focus on renewable energy in Barbados, opportunities, challenges, and the way forward for businesses, with insights from our very special and esteemed guests. Joining me today is Ms. Meshia Clarke, Director of the Barbados Renewable Energy Association, also known as BREA, Richard Singh, Technical Manager at Solar Dynamics, Rishi Panjwani, Agroprenuer at InoGrow Inc. Meshia, welcome to the program. It's a pleasure to have each and every one of you today. Meshia, how are you doing? Give us a bit of an introduction and insight into what you do at BREA.
Good morning, Tahir, and good morning to my fellow panelists. I am very pleased to be here. As Tahir would have mentioned, my name is Meshia Clarke, and I currently serve as the Vice President for the Barbados Renewable Energy Association, also known as BREA, for this current year, 2004 into 2025. And I also serve in terms of representing on the board for HDF Caribbean, which is a hydrogen-based subsidiary company which recently set up its offices here in Bridgetown, Barbados, and I currently serve as their ES&G expert. So special thanks to the Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry for having the Barbados Renewable Energy Association being part of this morning's discussion. Look forward to chatting with the panelists.
Meshia, that's lovely, and I really love to hear about all the work you are doing and all the boards you sit on. So that is excellent. Do keep up the excellent work indeed. And we have Mr. Richard Singh, who is the Technical Manager at Solar Dynamics. Richard, just give an introduction to the public of yourself.
Good morning, Tahir. Good morning to my fellow panelists and listeners. As Tahir said, my name is Richard Singh. I am the Technical Manager here at Solar Dynamics. I am glad to be here on this program. I'm sure there's a lot to talk about. I'm excited about the renewable energy industry here in Barbados. I've been involved in this industry from the very, very inception. So I'm happy to be on and to share some knowledge and experience here. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. And we are certainly looking forward to hearing from you. As everyone knows, Solar Dynamics is one of the leaders in the world for renewable energy. So happy to have you with us. And last but by no means least, the youngest on the panel, Mr. Rishi Panjwani. Rishi, welcome to the program. How are you doing today?
Hey, good morning, Tahir, and to my fellow panelists. I am well, thank you. Thanks for having me. And a brief introduction. I am, as Tahir mentioned, a young agripreneur, which is based in the agricultural industry. And what we're doing at InoGrow is trying to basically produce more food locally, sustainably, using hydroponics and modern day growing techniques, which will significantly help our food import bill and by all means help Barbadians with a more local, fresher, cleaner, nutritional diet.
Thank you, Rishi. And we really do look at your innovations and creative ways of doing agriculture, and especially in this time around the conversations around food security, do keep up the excellent work as well. So we're going to jump straight into the conversation now. We're going to go to Meshia first. Meshia, Barbados has this vision of a big ambition for renewable energy, following the Sustainable Development Goals. Before we jump into where the industry is at, why is it so important for the world at this point in time? Talking to someone who may not know the importance of renewable energy and the ambitious goals the Barbados government has set, why is this push so critical?
Thanks to hear, and I'm glad that you started there. This push is really critical for one word and one reason, that we at the Barbados Renewable Energy Association have been talking about since our inception in 2010. That is energy independence and energy security. If anyone is aware of what is going on around the world currently, and we can remember what happened in 2015 when we saw the spikes in terms of the oil prices going up and the volatility of oil and the volatility of fossil fuels, and what that then translated in terms of the upwardness and the increase in terms of our light bills. We therefore then know that energy independence and energy security is something that is very inherent within this 100% renewable energy vision. It is actually the Barbados Renewable Energy Association, through the work of the then professor, well, he's still very much alive, but was a member of the Barbados Renewable Association, Olaf Homeyer, who would have first put forward the 100% renewable energy, 100% energy efficiency strategy for Barbados as an articulated position from the Barbados Renewable Energy Association. And that strategy was premised on a number of things. It was premised on the need of a future to secure energy independence and energy security for Barbados, finally being able to utilize our natural resources in the form of solar and wind. We have been able to successfully do so through the solar thermal, but this is the first time that we were now translating and capturing that energy and translating it into electricity. It was also premised upon the need to facilitate for the first time the democratization of energy, the movement away of energy from the production from a sole utility to be able to facilitate that through independent power producers once we had the amendment to the Electric Light and Power Act. It also meant the full participation of every Barbadian in the energy sector, either through the use of solar PV systems on their homes, either through some who had investments and were capable to becoming IPPs or investing in companies, who some persons may not have had capital, but they had land and was able to lease this land in terms of persons to be able to then develop and create these solar farms that we see about. And it was also an opportunity in terms of expanding our skill sets, creating new job areas, a whole new creation of an economic premise was premised and tied to the renewable energy sector. So back in 2005, when we had the National Strategic Plan of Barbados, it took us all the way up. This was developed under the former Prime Minister, the then late Honorable Owen Arthur, which spoke about a green economy. We had for the first time the realization of that premise upon 100% renewable energy, 100% energy efficiency and what that meant. So critical towards achieving that goal is very much the whole slogan behind energy independence and energy security.
Painting that picture, it is certainly took us down history lane, just to give persons that context of where we have come from to where we are going. Richard, as an experienced person in this space, how has this transition been for Solar Dynamics? As we said, Solar Dynamics has been involved for many, many years. And what's your thoughts on the industry now?
Okay. Solar Dynamics has been in the renewable energy for 50 years now. And most people have known us as doing thermosiphon hot water systems. Solar Dynamics have followed through with the 100% renewable by 2030 by becoming very innovative in some of the new offerings and products that we have now on the market. For example, we have transitioned from just simple thermosiphon solar hot water system to now a hybrid hot water system in the commercial space. Our hybrid system is much more efficient, much more cost effective to hotels, and those applications can be for hotels, for hospitals, for large applications. We have also entered into the solar PV arena. I came here at Solar Dynamics. I brought with me over 15 years experience in designing and installing of solar PV, both grid and off-grid systems. So we here at Solar Dynamics now are we have installed quite a few off-grid systems in the marketplace. We've also moved gotten a little greener. We introduced what is called air water generators. And so that is a system that now takes water from the air, takes the molecule from the air, converts it into water through a process of purification, and able to deliver pure water as close as to nature as possible. We have also introduced to the marketplace what is called solar cell cladding. So we have taken solar cells, as we know, on rooftops and on ground mount, and so now they are very decorative. So instead of plain tiles on the outer side of buildings, we have now introduced solar cells. So energy can be generated from the decorative tiles on the outside of building to help to augment the energy from the building. So we have gone in a number of directions, 4 or 5 different products we now offer in the marketplace. And of course, leaders in hot water system, we also aim to be leaders in all of these various branches that we have gone into. So yes, we are well into the 100% renewable for Barbados. Not only for Barbados, we operate in 21 different Caribbean countries. So we represent some brands in all those countries. So yes, we are going big and in renewable energy.
Richard, and I'm glad you've shared the transition and the transformation Solar Dynamics has been through. Rishi, I'll jump to you now. As a young agripreneur, why is it so important to inculcate these sustainable practices in agriculture and as well into your innovations?
Well, Tahir, we all know what is going on in the world now, as Meshia mentioned earlier. And not only does it reflect and relate to oil prices and energy prices, but also food. Food is a big role in all of our lives, and I think it's also very important. So tying this back into what we're trying to do at InoGrow is basically have a more food sustainable, secure approach to our production locally. Whereas using these techniques such as hydroponics and climate-controlled agriculture allows us to grow crops that we aren't necessarily familiar with growing year-round in Barbados and that we're heavily dependent on importation for. So things such as cucumbers, European cucumbers, even strawberries is something that we're looking at for the very near future. Cherry tomatoes, things that fluctuate a lot throughout the year in pricing. And the reason for that fluctuation is obviously due to global supply, demand, shipping, energy. There's more than one factor. But what we're trying to do is basically have a food secure network within the Caribbean region where we can depend on each other and grow food that we can supply each other with and not have to be so heavily dependent on our imports.
I'm really enjoying that element of it, especially we have to bring down our food import bill. So Meshia, I'm going to jump back to you now. What are the key benefits for businesses that adopt renewable energy solutions today?
I think some of the key benefits is definitely for some businesses, they're seeing cost savings in terms of the introduction of them, specifically those businesses that were able to benefit from the integration of systems and that might had that are very much in the manufacturing space or industrial space. We would have known businesses such as Malk and Roberts Manufacturing would have been able to integrate and use this integration of these systems to help stabilize their energy costs. The stabilization of those energy costs into the production, into those productive sectors, obviously translates into potentials in terms of cost savings. Some businesses have taken on in terms of not necessarily integrating them within their manufacturing processes, but persons who had access to capital was able to sell, was able to generate a lot of that electricity and sell it back to the grid. We have our very own members in terms of Williams Solar and Williams Industry, which would have been able to create a whole niche and a whole development of a whole new department in terms of business, utilizing their rooftop space, creating the generation of green bonds, which is new investments into the sector. Those are some beautiful opportunities that we saw. We also saw opportunities in terms of the rise of the entrepreneurship, where we had persons that were transitioning away from heavy engineering, and engineering, electrical engineering, and were now able to transfer their skills into this new area. So we had the development and growth of a lot of businesses. And as a result of that, in terms of hiring persons, in terms of solar PV installations, that therefore then not only translated from an entrepreneurship side, it also had big translation and big impact in terms of education. We saw the rise in terms of technical and vocational skill sets, and we know the need. We always saying in Barbados, we need more skills. Where are skilled persons? These are the persons who usually drive economies. And we had the emergence of the installation of the solar PV installers being run by the TVET Council, the SJPPs and the BCCs. And we also saw that also translated into some of the higher level skill set areas in terms of the development of a master's in renewable energy. We saw the emergence of now lawyers in the renewable energy space. So creating those additional economic opportunities. So the opportunities have been wide and afar thus far, and we've seen the creation not only in terms of the impact of businesses and how businesses have been able to integrate the technology, but we also saw the growth of a new entrepreneurship sector at different levels, and what that also translated in terms of benefits in terms of the educational sector as well.
I'm glad you spoke on the education sector, because that is critical if we're gonna get young people involved in renewable energy, in climate change, in the fight against climate, and in agriculture on a whole. So that's why I'm going to jump to Rishi at this point in time. Rishi, do you think enough is done in schools to equip young people with the skills to be involved in agriculture where it is in a 2025 world?
That's a great question, Tahir. I really think, if I'm being honest and as transparent as I could be, I think we need to do more. Because agriculture from a long time ago has had a stigma attached to it, if you like, with the quote unquote hard work and, labor intensive. But using these modern day growing techniques and using hydroponics and using climate controlled agriculture, what we're trying to do is actually show the public and the youth that agriculture has changed, and there's been a boom of a lot of industries since technology has taken over, and agriculture is also one of those industries that technology has tied into and made it more efficient, made it more economical, and made it more scalable quite easy. So I think we can make a bigger effort to actually integrate these new growing techniques and using hydroponics, using aquaponics, using aeroponics into schools and into maybe a module that can be in schools, and we can have a smaller scale system that you use that's put into the school that you can have as a live growing wall, and the students can basically tend to it, feed the crops, make sure the pH and the EC in the water is correct. So we can create a module in school, same way how we have math, English, and comprehension. We can have agriculture or sustainable agriculture as one of the modules, and this can basically help to teach and acknowledge basically where agriculture is going, so that it can be more instilled into our youth and our upcoming generations going forward.
Certainly agree with you 110%, Rishi. I think it's needed in school, and we need to make it fun. I really like the idea of making it very practical, where the young people can actually grow something in school, carry it home, let their parents cook it. They cook it themselves, or perhaps they have a whole project, a holistic project within the school where everything is done in the day at school, where you grow, you give it to your home economic class, they cook something, and then you sell it perhaps. And that's the circular economy that I'm sure Meshia touched on, and you are as well. Richard, from where you sit as an experienced campaigner, do you think this is something that can easily be achieved? Getting the subject into school on renewable energy, on the climate fight, on these creative innovations that Solar Dynamics, Rishi and his work is doing, and Bria is pushing at the national and regional level?
Of course, Tahir. Of course. We are a little behind in terms of implementing that, but not too late. And I am sure once we can put together all of the logistics, we can introduce this to schools as in the primary schools, in the secondary schools, because the next generation needs to be educated, needs to understand the whole principle of a green economy, renewable energy, sustainability, so that we can build out that the children coming out of school will come out better educated with a better understanding and appreciation for what government wants to achieve and for what all of us want to achieve for the environment, for not only for the environment, but for our economic sustainability. When we look at what's happening beyond our shores, really, it's frightening. And so, yes, I fully subscribe, fully agree to the introduction of some form of education, some form of curriculum in our schools to bring our children up to speed to where we want to go and what we want them to understand, and get them more involved, get them more connected to renewable energy. I deal in particular with a lot of young people. At one point, some that were trained at the Polytechnic in renewable energy were assigned to my company before I came here to Solar Dynamics, were assigned to me as interns. And some of the young guys, they were only thinking the financial benefit, and they had no idea of what we want to achieve in terms of a green economy and so on. So yes, let's go for it.
Thank you for that. And I can understand from where a lot of those young people sit about the returns on the investment, the monetary gains, the financial gains. And that's why I'm going to, Meshia, bringing you back into the conversation now. The sector has had its fair share of challenges and barriers. Let's give the public an insight into what are some of the challenges, not just Barbados, but small island developing states who have major ambitions to achieve these ambitious targets, ambitious goals have. What are some of these barriers and challenges that are faced, especially in the renewable energy sector?
Yes, as much as we're going towards that dream, and we've had a dream, and there's been some really great highs that I talked about where we saw the growth in 2015, 2018, and the how just the sector has transformed. We've also very much experienced some lows, and unfortunately right now we are in a low period, just to be quite honest. But to speak more to your question and then to also tie it back into that low, some of the challenges which we face in terms of moving towards a 100% renewable energy economy and a green economy is really some of the capacity constraints. This is one of the biggest national development projects that the government of Barbados has taken on, and it would require a number of skilled human skill sets across a number of areas. I would have mentioned in legal and regulatory support, in the area of not only in the installation as well, but in terms of the policy development aspect, and then in terms of the business implementation. So we definitely face quite a bit of challenges in terms of our capacity constraints, mainly across our leading institutions who are responsible in terms of leading the transition, specifically the Fair Trading Commission. We're seeing a level of, for us, in terms of regulatory lag, where we have policy initiatives and policy objectives such as the 100% renewable energy target. We know that it's tied to a target where we want to increase local participation, not only local participation at the level of our installers and our entrepreneurs, but also local participation and capital investment from our indigenous banks, our credit unions, and our non-bank financial institutions. But there's a lack of regulatory lag to support this, to support the facilitation of how we transition moving forward. There's a lack of challenge also in the business processing facilitation, where we might be going towards specific targets. Most recently, in terms of, we know we had the launch of the battery energy storage procurement process, but we're currently facing a lag in terms of the issuance and the actual publication of that. Again, all as a result of the human capacity constraints within the organizations who are responsible for leading this charge. A lot of what we are doing is new. It is groundbreaking. So, persons have been having to learn on the fly, in the early day or very early up in the sector. We would have been able to benefit from development financing, such as from the Inter-American Development Bank and the EU delegation. But we see where funding is going now, and where funding opportunities and envelopes are now being reduced. What that means in terms of being able to execute some of the initiatives that are needed within our public sector institutions to support the effective translation and the effective transformation of the sector in the time in which we are currently operating. So the biggest threat right now are our capacity constraints, the threats in terms of our regulation, our regulatory lag and business processing lag, and our ability to be able to respond efficiently and timely at the pace and the time in which the sector needs, which is very critical to still ensure that there are businesses that are going to be profitable and able to function at the end of the day.
Richard, from a private sector perspective, and any advice you can offer to the Chamber of Commerce as well, what can the private sector do, or the Chamber, to advocate to have some of these challenges relieved?
What can the private sector do to have some of these challenges addressed? In the main, sometimes we've been sitting and waiting for some things to happen. For example, I remember sitting at the very first meeting in December 6, 2023. We were introduced to the fact that there will be no more grid connection. One, and two, government was putting a procurement procedure in place so as to mitigate against persons who have invested large sums of money in renewable energy, in solar PV in particular, and couldn't get connected to the grid. We were told that it will take about 6 months, and while the last meeting that we had last Tuesday for that matter, where the minister announced that we're closer to closing up on those initiatives. So I don't think that the private sector can do a whole lot more, but wait on government, wait on the regulators, wait on FCC to tell us what the new rates for BESS will be. And so I think it's just a wait and see right now. In the meantime, though, private sector can take their own initiative and go solo, go independent in terms of their off-grid solutions. Many have chosen to do so. Rather than sit and wait, they have gone ahead and implemented and installed their own off-grid systems so that they can benefit from lower energy cost. But yes, the private sector can make its own move, take its own initiative, look at its own bottom line, and understand where its energy usage are and how to mitigate against that, whilst we are waiting on government to come through.
Totally. I understand the perspective of the private sector and how critical government and government legislation and government push is a part of this puzzle. Rishi, as a young entrepreneur, what are some of the challenges you faced and how did you overcome them?
Many challenges, of course. Nothing falls in our lap. But that makes the journey a lot more rewarding. And some of the challenges we faced are, first, there's, as we all know, there's first movers advantage in the market, but there's also first movers disadvantage because we are, quote unquote, the guinea pig for a lot of things. So we would have started our journey in the sustainable agriculture back in 2016, 2017, when we brought in one of the first containerized farms in Barbados. And since then, it's been quite a long journey. There's been a lot of red tape and a lot of things that we've changed. But something as small as, when the system first arrived in Barbados, it was a shipping container that was retrofitted to a farm, technically. And something as small as the port authorities not being willing to classify the item as a piece of agricultural equipment, that was a challenge in itself. Things like these are real life challenges that we face, whereas the container was stuck in the port for over 3 months because of basically a reclassification issue on the container. So fast forwarding now to 7-8 years down the line, we're actually about 4 weeks out from completion on building the first, I would say, large-scale greenhouse facility in Barbados. Is 16,000 square feet in Guinea Plantation, and that would be possibly one of the bigger or the biggest farms of production in Barbados. And being able to get financing for that kind of project, again, someone mentioned IDB earlier and the help of the EU. We were able to access the Enhanced Credit Guarantee Fund, which made this a lot easier, made it more realistic, made it actually happen. So big thanks for those kind of things happening and pushing financing and stuff for entrepreneurs. And yeah, these are the issues that we faced. But again, with persistence, you will always be able to overcome them.
With persistence, you will always be able to overcome, indeed. I'm really enjoying the conversation and how it is transitioning and how we are really moving forward, going from the historical context, the policies that have been implemented as far back as 2005 all the way up now to 2025. That's 20 years ago, Meshia. It seems like yesterday for many of us. For you guys who have been in this space, in this green economy space, Richard around as an experienced campaigner, Meshia, there's been much conversation around other forms of energy sources, solar, wind, bioenergy, and ocean energy. How does this fit into the long-term mission of Barbados?
Most definitely. We've definitely made, in terms of being a first mover, most of the significant steps forward, through the use of solar PV. I think that just came first, in a natural generation in terms of the, what happened in terms of the technology and the decrease in the cost, which made the integration and the uptake of that penetration, very easy for us. But there's definitely a role to play in terms of the use of other energy sources such as wind and such as bioenergy. We would have heard the minister speak in terms of the plans, in terms of the reinitiation of the Lamberts project, and wind has a very much significant role to play as we transition and helping us to move forward. Bioenergy and our base, how we're using things such as the generation of electricity from things such as aspects of the sugarcane growth. We would have saw that the University of the West Indies, through Dr. Legina Henry, was able to regenerate or utilize some of that in terms of producing now biofuels. and we had the actual use of that into the use in terms of vehicles. So these alternative energy sources definitely have a big role to play in terms of how we transition and how we transition effectively. The name of the game, as I mentioned, in terms of starting the discussion, is energy independence and energy security, and diversification is part of that. Ensuring that our energy mix is as diverse, is as robust, is as efficient as possible to ensure that that energy independence that we talked about actually translates in terms of effective energy security. And with it, all of the expected economic benefits that we hope to be achieved as a result thereof. Taking off my BREA hat for a minute and putting off my HDF Caribbean hat, there's also the emergence of other new technologies such as green hydrogen, where we're utilizing the use of water. We're splitting, utilizing either solar PV or can be wind, which is your green source, which makes the production of the hydrogen, splitting the water molecule, which we know is H2 and O, splitting that to generate the hydrogen through the use of electrolysis process, storing that then into terms of the hydrogen fuel tanks, and that actually provides a buffer system and ensures that we have a level of stability, because it means with this new technology is a firm base load type of technology. And what that means is that the source of the energy being produced once it's stored in the hydrogen fuel tanks and then utilized and transferred into electricity through the use of the fuel cell, is that the use of the hydrogen tanks provides us with our already embedded storage, where we're able to store the electricity during the night through the use of the hydrogen tanks, and be able to act as a buffer reserve so that there's no intermittency into the process. So we're seeing the transition and growth in terms of the different phases in terms of which we're having the renewable energy integrated into different technologies, but we're also seeing the technologies also become as agile and creative, where we're not only solely intermittent, but where we're combining different forms of technology to create that level of grid stability that is needed to support this need in terms of going towards stable, reliable, and clean and an energy independent Barbados.
Richard, as part of this conversation, I know Solar Dynamics focuses primarily on solar. What Meshia just mentioned, do you see in the future Solar Dynamics being a part of this mission for like wind energy and the other forms of energy sources?
Yeah, Solar Dynamics focuses not only hot water. Let me correct that, right? As you would have heard me said at the beginning, we have transitioned from thermosiphon hot water systems into more robust hybrid hot water systems. So that's one aspect. We have also introduced what is called the air water generators. So we have machines that is able to generate water, clean, pure, 99% nature pure water that is made from the atmosphere. And so you can have 100% pure, good tasting cold water without connecting to a plumbing source. We have also transitioned into what is called the solar cladding. Like you will see a Luca bond on many buildings here in Barbados, the tiles that decorate the outside of buildings. We have taken that a step further, and through one of our partners, a supplier, created solar cladding. So buildings, we are aiming to make buildings self-sufficient. So if you don't have rooftops that can accommodate solar panels, then you do what is called the solar cladding on the outside of the building. Looks pretty, appealing to the eye, yet it produces electricity to power the operations of the building. So hybrid hot water system, air water generators, solar cladding. We've also, in terms of our solar PV, we have taken that a step forward as well in terms of our storage systems. And so we are offering a product which we are the authorized agent for the entire English-speaking Caribbean. We're a smaller backup energy system, so business no longer have to shut down if there is a power outage from the grid, and they don't have space on their rooftops for large amount of solar panels or storage batteries. We have been able to combine that and condense that into systems that can offer energy backup for many hours. We have introduced in Barbados solar air conditioners and hybrid air conditioners. So solar air conditioners take people completely off buying energy from the grid and being able to power their air conditioning system, being at home or in their businesses, purely from solar. But also we have introduced hybrid where you can use solar and electricity. So in the daytime, they utilize the sun to power their air conditioners, and in the nighttime, they buy from the electricity grid. So we have introduced innovations and product in the marketplace, in the whole energy mix, towards a greener Barbados, towards a greener economy, towards more self-sufficiency. As Rishi, they're offering food in terms of self-sufficiency. We are offering a myriad of products to make business, to make homes, to make corporate Barbados more self-sufficient.
Rishi, as you said earlier, you are in one of the first movers in the industry. What advice would you offer someone who may want to start a business similar to what you are doing today, or perhaps just in the green economy, in the green sector? What advice would you offer?
Being frank, dive right in. I'm kidding. But yes, dive right in, but also do your research, do your due diligence. Speak to people like me. I'm an open book. Anyone can call me, ask me any questions. I'm happy to help. I want everyone to be, involved in this. It's important not only for us, but for our future generations. I'm a young dad, and I think about how my daughter is going to eat and how her kids eventually will eat as well. And these are the things that we need to be thinking of and be aware of whilst we're pursuing our goals in these industries.
Support is key, and access to capital, access to resources, even access to knowledge in some instances are a challenge in Barbados. What does BREA do to facilitate some of these challenges that young people, young entrepreneurs, and persons interested in joining the industry, what opportunities or what do you all provide?
First of all, we encourage everyone to become, if you're going to be a participant in this sector, become a BREA member. Just a plug from some advertisement there for the Barbados Renewable Energy Association. But yes, we do encourage persons specifically who are businesses now entering into the space to become a member of the association. And you can visit our website where you can find at www.brea.bb access to our full categorization of membership and all of the membership benefits that comes with that. Because for exactly as you said, Tahiri, on the business element, we provide you with, it's important to have a robust understanding of the knowledge of what is happening within the sector to get an idea in terms of the pulse and what is happening in terms of the business processing, what is happening in terms of the legislative and regulatory reviews, and we provide those types of opportunities and offer offerings to our membership. Even in terms for students, there's a category for students and it's quite cheap. I believe $25. You can become a member of the Barbados Renewable Energy Association. That gives you access to any of our events, participation and opportunities in terms of mentorship with any of our member associations. We have in the past taken on students from the University of the West Indies who have sat as interns within the Barbados Renewable Energy Association. And we've also been able to place those persons in some of the other companies. A number of the persons who would have interned with BREA at the time when we talk about providing that access would have gone on. I believe we have someone that is now at the Caribbean Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency. She started as a BREA intern. She's now a project analyst. We would have had persons transitioned and gone to Williams Solar. So we provide that opportunity in terms of very much being in terms of internships for students, members, for young persons interested, and then also having the opportunity to be part of the sets in terms of gathering those business opportunities and retaining jobs. But I think our biggest role for our sector players and our industry professionals is that we usually act as an interlocker between what is happening at the industry and what is happening within government. And we sit on a regular basis and we have access in terms of working with the ministry in terms of sharing the challenges and concerns of the sector on behalf of our membership. So we do quite a bit of lobbying and advocacy support. And in the past, we have gone out quite a bit in terms of the community. Big for us in terms of 2025 is to begin to take on that whole of society approach again, a community focus where we actually allow persons to be part of this mandate towards 100% renewable energy. And we go out in the communities, get persons involved once again in knowing why BREA is here, what is the importance of taking advantage of this 100% renewable energy initiative or policy initiative, what is in it for you, but most importantly, how we can really start solving, working as an association as we have done in the past to solve some of the real challenges and threats that the sector is currently facing. Big for us right now are the issues pertaining to grid stability and our inability to be able to get systems on board. And we could come to that a little later.
Richard, just a follow-up question from that intervention as well. You know, partnerships are key, as you mentioned, and working with schools, working with NGOs, working with different institutions. Who are some of the partners BREA works alongside?
Richard or Meshia?
Meshia, sorry.
Meshia, that's no problem. The University of the West Indies has been a long partner of the Barbados Renewable Energy Association. Whenever they have the masters, I think it might have gone on hiatus for a little bit, the masters in renewable energy, we usually partner with them in terms of taking on interns as well as our members. I would have mentioned Williams Solar, and Smart Inc., even in terms of Caribbean LED have taken on members. The Barbados Light and Power have taken on students from the University of the West Indies. We've also partnered with international agencies such as RMI, which would have supported us in the early days in terms of the development of our template power purchase agreements, which act as important industry documentation where necessarily the local knowledge or skill sets weren't necessarily available, and we were able to leverage our work as an association to be able to partner with these type of agencies. We've also worked in the past with the CARICOM Secretariat, specifically the energy unit of the CARICOM Secretariat, in sharing with them the case study example, because Barbados really serves as a case study example for the drive towards 100% renewable energy and what is possible for the Caribbean. Barbados is taking a lot of the lead. So we have worked with the CARICOM Secretariat, specifically the energy unit, in the past to be able to say what was the Barbados model. And the Barbados model is very much built on one where there's heavy local participation and private sector participation in driving the sector forward, and the role of BREA in facilitating that as the lead sector body, what it means in terms of advocating, what it means in terms of lobbying and support, what it means in terms of providing oftentimes the knowledge through the research and development, where again, we've utilized the university to provide a number of the sector level information on what is needed to push the sector forward. So those are just a few of the examples in terms of our partnerships.
Thank you, Meshia. Partnerships are very critical. And Rishi, we spoke on the challenges, we spoke on what's needed in the education sector, but before we close, Rishi, speak of the success of your project, of your baby, of your business that you have built from the ground to where it is today. Speak of some of the successes you've achieved.
That's a good thing, and it's always good to look back at the successes to give yourself some more motivation to keep going. And as I said, we started back in 2017, and to where we've come today, I'm quite proud to say that we've transitioned into a large facility, which is about, and that's a big thing, to look into more crops that are strictly imported. For example, strawberries in Barbados, almost 100% of all strawberries in Barbados. But realistically, we need a fully climate controlled. So that's one of the crops that we're looking at for sure. And not only in Barbados, as I said, I mean, we're from here and we're starting here, but regionally, this is a regional thing. This is something that we can take advantage of throughout the region.
Thank you, Rishi. And we do appreciate having you on the program today and sharing from a young perspective. So thank you very much for sharing that success story and all those accomplishments you've achieved in the 8 years of your operation. Richard, we're going to jump back to you now. Richard, what would be your call to action? What would be your view of the sector in 5 years? Ideally, where would you want it to be looking forward based on where it has come from?
Well, we have made tremendous strides here. The progress of the industry is very, very commendable. I think we are really right there at the top in terms of where the Caribbean is in renewable energy, but there is a lot more to be gained. There's a lot more to accomplish, much more work to do. So in 5 years' time, I don't know that we can be completely 100% renewable, but I would like to see in 5 years' time we achieve at least 80% renewable in Barbados in terms of our energy production, in terms of our savings on fossil fuel, in terms of our green economy, reducing our pollution, in terms of how many more EVs we have on our streets. So I would like really to see development growth in those areas. We are getting there. We're moving there. There are some setbacks. There are some hurdles to get over. But with the support of government, with the right legislations in place, I am sure we will be able to achieve about 80% renewable in 5 years' time. And I'm looking forward to that.
Certainly looking forward to that. And I really like how you've analyzed it and put that target out there and being very realistic. Meshia, what would be your ideal? What would be your vision for the renewable energy sector in Barbados? What would be your ideal in 5 to 10 years, and even for the next generations to come, say 50 years down the line?
Well, first and foremost, we need to unlock the grid. So very immediate challenge would be to able to move forward with effective storage strategy, looking at the incorporation of battery energy storage and seeing how the role that plays, but also in terms of the integration of alternative technologies and alternative storage technologies and how those could be integrated in the grid. But this, again, going back to where I started, the 100% Renewable Energy Barbados initiative was buttressed upon and platformed upon energy security and energy independence for Barbadians, for the average Barbadian. So in the next 5 years, definitely what I will want to see is increased local participation, increased benefits to the average Barbadian, increased entrepreneurship opportunities, increased transition where we're seeing, look at the story of solar dynamics moving from solar thermal into now in terms of the integration of the work where they're doing in terms of energy efficiency, the work of Williams Solar in terms of being able to come in for Williams Industry and translate in terms of Williams Solar to have renewable energy, but the use in terms of other types of technologies. So for me, in terms of in the next 5 years, I want to see the greater participation of our locals. I want to see a sector that is not only that is for Barbadians, by Barbadians, where there's considerable local investment, by our own. Our capital is being utilized from our non-bank financial institutions. And I also want to see where we are able to leverage those international companies that are coming in and participating in this space, where there's adequate benefit for us as our locals to transition our persons through the necessary skill sets in terms of helping them to drive their businesses. So that will be my goal in the next 5 years. And I just kudos to the Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry for supporting BRIA and working with us through the number of committees, the Green Committee, in terms of which we sit representation, and providing platforms like this to have the conversation continued in a very constructive and collaborative way, where partnership and meaningful engagement is going to be critical and key.
Commerce and industry continues to be a trailblazer in this space, encouraging businesses, having those insightful conversations and meaningful collaborations, as you mentioned. So we must commend the Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry for being the trailblazer in Barbados and encouraging businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, we're coming to the end of today's program. It has certainly been an insightful one. But Richard, I'm going to come to you very, very quickly. Your wrap up, your thoughts on the conversation, and any words of wisdom that you may want to part on anyone today.
Well, yes, I will piggyback on Meshia a little bit here, because we would really look forward for the opening up of the grid. There are too many projects out there, lots of money, millions of dollars sitting down there on grounds and on rooftops, waiting to be connected, waiting to be able to sell their stored energy and so on. And I would really like to see that happen in very quick order before the end of second quarter of this year. Really, it sounds unrealistic, but I'd like to see that happen. But yes, in terms of the industry, I am really excited about this industry. I will encourage more people to come on board, get educated, learn more about the industry. There are quite a few misconceptions out there, and places like BRIA, or there are other places people can go and obtain information in terms of where the industry, where it started, how it got started, how it has transitioned, the growth that is taking place, and what lies ahead for the entire country. Because, one of the misconceptions is that renewable energy is only for big business and rich people, and that is not true. Meshia made reference to the average Barbadian, the average householder, to be able to benefit from this industry. And I will encourage more people to come on board, more education, more information to be put out in the open, so that people have a clear understanding, better understanding of what our industry is, because any industry should benefit from top to bottom, every sector of society. And as part of this industry, our push is to take that forward and to make this industry beneficial to average Barbadian, to in every aspect of their lives. So that's my last tip.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Meshia. Thank you, Rishi, for joining us today on this Let's Talk Business with the Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry. It's been an exciting conversation. It's an educational conversation. We've gone from the historical context from which this industry has been built upon to the challenges faced, the opportunities gained, and some success stories, all along the way. And if we're going to move forward, we certainly have to move forward together. Private sector, public sector, entrepreneurs, young people, older people, more experienced people, the education system, all hand in hand to build a better Barbados. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. My name is Tahir Bulbulia, and it was a pleasure being your host for this program. So until next time, please be safe and God bless.
That's it for another edition of Let's Talk Business with Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry, BCCI. Join us again next time as we hear the perspectives of various subject matter experts and stay up to date on the challenges and solutions around emerging and current trends in business, policies, trade, and more.